Welcome to another episode of Unscripted with Marilyn Morales. Today's guest is someone who has become a friend of mine in just the last year. We have a lot of things in common. I met her through through Emilio and Daniela Roman in a group that we were in as I was writing my book. And she was just one of those people that I could see what a good soul, what a good heart she had. And I knew that this is somebody that I could trust. And, for people that know me know that that's a little hard for me to do. But 100% love Elizabeth Maldonado. Let me tell you a little bit about Elizabeth. Elizabeth is a certified teacher. She is a certified life coach, ordained minister. That I didn't know about you, Elizabeth. All right, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. Published author and motivational speaker. She earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in Interdisciplinary Studies with a concentration in generic special education from the University of the Incarnate Word. She graduated with honors Cum Laude, and she is a San Antonio, Texas native. Those of you that know me know I love San Antonio. So let's welcome Elizabeth to the show.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. We've been talking about having you come on for a long time, and we're finally here.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you do so many fantastic, wonderful things that I truly love. So let's get right into who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Elizabeth Maldonado. I'm here from San Antonio, Texas, born and raised here. I was brought up on a street called Hope Drive. So my book, I named my Hope Drives. And so this next book is also going to be Hope Drives, but this one's called Overcoming Adversity. And my next one is Walking in God's given, in our God-given authority.
That's right. That's the next book coming out. And who's coming out in that?
You are.
Me!
I'm excited about it. I think that it's a really great way to honor God in our lives and really take the time to just share our testimony with other people. I know when they read the title, it just says, walking in our God-given authority, but I don't know that everybody really understands the depth of that. So many times we have goals and we have aspirations and we have things that we want to do, but when we put God first, He makes a way. And that's a huge difference from trying to do it on your own. So I know I've experienced it, and it makes such a difference. And then you can share your story and share your testimony with other people to inspire them to continue to go towards their goals and aspirations as well.
And I will tell you, beautiful title. I fell in love with the cover of the book. I fell in love with the title, and that's why I said, you know what, Elizabeth, out of all the things that you're putting out there, I want to be a part of this one.
Yes, I'm so glad to be.
So faith doesn't come easy for a lot of people, even though I'm a cradle Catholic, and I believe you're Catholic as well, right?
Yes.
So regardless of your upbringing or what religion you are, right? God is one.
Mm-hmm,
right. Exactly. So when we're talking about a God-given authority, that could mean anything. You could be from any background or religion. It's just a matter of faith. And
right.
sometimes those of us come from a struggle and figure that out. Sometimes we got to be hit over the head. Right?
Exactly. It's true though. Okay. That's how He gets your attention. So many times we get caught up in, the schedules and all the things we've got to do, the limited time that we have to try to get it all done. But when we are faced with adversity or something big, something that really gets your attention, and I think sometimes God does that. He will cause that to happen or allow that to happen so that you can rely just on Him. I think a lot of times, we rely on our partner or husband or, family and all of that. But He is a God that wants us to put Him first. And right. Those situations, when that happens, you rely on your higher power and you give Him that attention that really He deserves. A lot of times I feel like I don't give Him the time that I should. Devotionals are important, prayer is important, and just making yourself available to the Holy Spirit so that you can bless other people. I mean, a lot of times I think we underestimate our actions and our behaviors and how we interact with other people, and can make a huge difference. Sometimes your time, your empathy, your compassion for another person can make a huge difference in their lives. And we underestimate those things. Sometimes we're thinking, oh, well, what kind of difference can I make? They're going through something really serious, but just being in the room with someone, it can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. Amen. I absolutely agree with you on all those points. One of the things for me and my mindset and how I view things, I don't think God does these things to us in order to bring us to our knees. I think the situations bring us to our knees and we realize that, we can't do this alone, that I'm a control person, right? That's just part of my personality. I like control because I don't like surprises, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like things to be in a certain order because it just brings me comfort. I don't have as much anxiety when I can predict what's going to happen. And the
Mm-hmm.
realization that that is an illusion and that you absolutely have no control. God
Mm-hmm.
has always been there. God is always there, right? And there are people like me who are hard-headed, who
Mm-hmm.
don't want to acknowledge the higher power and
Mm-hmm.
believe that we have more control than we actually do, and
True.
don't
Mm-hmm.
like to ask for help. We're very independent individuals and think that we can do it all. And then when something happens that brings you to your knees and say, oh my God, I have no control over this.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to get through this? Is then when you start searching within your soul for something more to
Mm-hmm.
help you through what's going through, right?
Yes, exactly.
In your book, I'm going to share something that most people don't know. The majority of the people don't know about me, and that was how God truly healed a physical ailment as a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
I am in the job of helping others to heal physically, mentally, spiritually, but
Mm-hmm.
we tend to neglect ourselves in that equation. Nurses
Yeah.
often do it. We don't eat lunch. We don't go to the bathroom. We don't do a lot of things because we're constantly serving others and we never serve ourselves. And how can we truly be well for others if we don't take care of ourselves? And that's
True.
what happened to me. And I had a rare illness that showed me how much control I did not have and that I could not rely solely on science to
Mm-hmm.
help me live. Um, so I had to rely on a God who did restore my health. And that story will be told in your books, the first time ever that I'm telling that story,
That's awesome.
because I felt that now was the time to do it. So
Absolutely.
thank you for creating the platform for those of us like me to be able to be vulnerable and share those stories.
Thank you. No, and I appreciate you doing that. When we share our stories with other people, we're sharing our testimony, we're glorifying God, and we're allowing other people to understand how to navigate through those situations. It's not easy. A lot of times, like you said, you want to be the one in control. You want to be the one who's independent. And I'm that way. I'm totally that way. So for me
Yeah.
to kind of to give up that control and say, okay, it's in your hands, God. Let me put it in, at the cross, and I'm gonna have to leave it there, not pick it up and walk back with it, and that's difficult sometimes. That's very difficult to do because there's this doubt or unbelief that we have, and we shouldn't doubt and we shouldn't have that unbelief, but it's just the way of the world, right? I mean, there's a conflict between what we believe spiritually and what we see from day to day, and so we have to find a balance between those two. And you're right. When you're the one who's always serving, it's really hard to say, okay, I'm going to allow someone now to be in my place and let them help me.
Let them take care of me. Right. That
Mhm.
was hard. That was
It,
really hard for me.
yeah, it is. It's really difficult.
So
Yeah.
you didn't come to this, I'm sure, like all of a sudden wake up and say, "Oh, I'm now this person," right? and I
No.
and I'm gonna do all these things. You have had to have come from something that triggered you, just like something triggered me,
Mhm.
right? In order to get to that place.
Yeah.
Share with my viewers a story about you and how you got to this space.
It's it's really interesting. I was going through a really, really dark time, really hard time, and I read a book. I got my hands on a book. It was called Born to Fly. And I read it and I thought, wow, how inspiring and how powerful it is to read a story and take that information and apply it. And I was really inspired by it. And then I had the opportunity to go to an event where the author was holding an event, and it was a really intimate setting. It was only a couple people. They went over like your finances, your mindset, how to interact with the world around you and be in control of your thoughts and your feelings. And I thought, maybe that, and it was called Evolution Weekend. And it was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it was with Daniel Gomez. And I thought, I'm going to try and go to this thing. And I spoke to him on the phone. And I remember him telling me, you need to be here. It's going to, you're going to have a breakthrough. And how many times do we not hear that, right? And you
Yeah.
think, oh, I've heard that before. But no, I'm telling you, at the end of the third day, I felt like a completely different person. And I think it had a lot to do with forgiveness. It had a lot to do with making sense of the world around me and the things that had happened. And there was a girl there. She had just launched a book, and it was called Undefeated, Broken into Purpose. And I remember hearing the title, and I'm thinking, broken into purpose. And it really made sense to me, because I thought, well, all these things we're going through, we're learning from them, even though they're hard, right? But we're learning from that. And then you apply that to not just your life, but the lives of others, right? And you're able to serve in such a better way, because you're more fortified and you're understanding, and you're a stronger person mentally, right?
Right.
So this 3-day weekend really made me look at things in a different perspective. And so sometimes I think that's that paradigm shift that needs to happen. And so that led me to write the book, my first book. And then after doing that, sticking around with the people that Daniel had in his group, they talked about becoming a speaker, a motivational speaker. So I took the training for that with him as well. And it just kind of grew from there. And then I met Emilio, and I met Jose, and and it just grew. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it snowballed. I remember hearing when I first started interacting with Emilio and Daniela Roman, and they talked about you and how you bought Jose Escobar, who now has is connected to everybody, right? So
Right.
the power of connection. So this all started with
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Gomez,
Mm-hmm.
inviting you to an event and going. The power of connections is huge, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes it takes, and this is when we start talking to people who are going through something. You
Mm-hmm.
never know that one sentence, like for you, that one title, that
Mm-hmm.
one sentence spoke to your soul and called you to action so that you
It did.
take the next step.
It
So,
did.
holding our own stories to ourselves, we're there to motivate, throw the pebble in the water, right? To see the ripple
Exactly.
effect of those things. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is
Mm-hmm.
truly our God-given authority to
It
do
is.
so.
It is.
So that's what puts you into the next phase of your life then.
Exactly, exactly. And I kept thinking, and I was in education for the longest time. I started teaching in August of 2000. And I kept thinking, there's got to be more to this. I saw so many kids kind of fall through the cracks. And we had some suicides, we had overdoses.
Wow.
There were so many things that had happened with the population of kids that we worked with. And I always worked with the at-risk youth. It was the special ed department that I worked in. And I worked specifically with the emotionally disturbed and the learning disabled. And sometimes they had both. So it's a challenging group of kids, but it's so rewarding when you start seeing their development and how they grow and how they just blossom. And those kids really, when they love you, they'll keep in touch with you. I mean, it's been years have gone by, and they'll still call and say, "Hey, how's it going? Do you remember me?" And that kind of thing. And I thought, wow, it's important to understand how much of an impact we have on others and how to use that. So many times I think we just kind of pass those opportunities up because we think, well, what can I really do? And in reality, we can do a lot, and just in, like you said, it could be a few words. It doesn't have to be, a huge session or something. And when I started to realize that, I wanted to hang around a certain group of people. And I've been real selective. And just like you said, Marilyn, it's not easy to trust just anybody, right?
Right.
But when you surround yourself with the right people, you start to get this glow about you, this radiance, and it exudes itself in so many different ways, whether it be your energy, whether it be your personality, and you have more of a fortified way of dealing with the world around you. And so I thought, if I can get more of that, that's going to make me a better person. And it's going to make me more powerful in the marketplace, and in business. So a lot of times we talk about, impact and influence and income, of course, right? So it's trying to find that in a way that glorifies God and really grows his kingdom. And I think that is the ultimate vision I have for myself. I remember doing a vision board, and I had like a church, and I had not that I'm a pastor or anything like that, but I did have that.
Wait a minute. Didn't you say you are? Hold on.
Yeah,
What
not
are
a pastor, but an ordained minister. Yeah,
you're
it's
an ordained
different.
minister?
No, but the pastors really are people who give so much of themselves to their flock, right?
Right.
And they have like limited time for themselves. They're so selfless, right? And I think about that, and I'm like, sometimes I don't think they get that sense of pride, right? And they just think I'm going to continue to pour into people, and just like nursing, right? Like you were saying, you
Right.
go without a restroom break, you go without your lunch or whatever because you're serving and you're just continuously doing it.
Right.
And sometimes when we do that in such a way where it's constant, you don't realize what an impact you make. And you take it for granted, like, it's just my job or whatever, but it's not. It's huge. And does cause that ripple effect, like you were saying. I remember I said that in one of my speeches when I was on stage with Daniel. I said, sometimes we see things that are wrong and you're thinking, oh, well, I don't want to offend anybody, or I don't want to, I don't want anybody to say, hey, that's not your business or whatever. So you just kind of stay quiet about it. But in reality, there's a way to approach people about it and say, hey, look, I'm coming from a place of love and understanding and care. So when I come to you and I say, hey, look, what you're doing is wrong. What I'm seeing you do is wrong. And that's not who you really are, or that's
Right.
not who God wants you to be. I'm coming to you because I love you enough and care enough to tell you, hey, I think you deserve better. And let's see what we can do together to make this a better situation. And that sometimes is really difficult for people. They don't want to do that. They'll step back and be like, well, it's not my business. It's like they walk around with blinders on.
Yes,
And
I come from New York, where nothing is your business, right?
yeah, and that's
Everybody
how it
mind your
is here
business.
too.
Mind
Yeah,
your business.
exactly. Yeah, say
Put the
that. They do.
blinders on. They put the
Mhm.
blinders on when you're born in New York. They put them on. Lesson number one is don't look at people, don't
Yeah,
interact.
and
So
that's
when
true.
you're raised in that environment, we're not naturally like that, but then
No,
you're raised in that sometimes because you're born into environments that for your own protection, you're taught these things, and it
exactly.
just ripples into the other uh, facets of your life,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
one time all it takes is for somebody to truly believe in you. Like you're saying, you're
Mhm.
feeling worthless, but then somebody comes along and says, "Hey, I believe in you. I think you can do this." And
Right.
that's all that person needed. So I want to
Mhm.
speak on that a little bit because that's what impressed me about you the most. And you know that I talk about this all the time. I'm really in love with what you do with people who were lost in the system and never graduated with their high school diploma.
Mhm.
Share with my viewers that part of your life, and how do you help people like that?
Well, I had worked for over 20 years working with at-risk youth, and I kind of kept seeing the same type of people fall through the cracks, and they wouldn't finish. And sometimes it was, just like the standardized test, for example. They would have all their credits, but if you couldn't pass the standardized test at the end of the whole program, then you don't get a diploma. You get a certificate of completion. And what are
Hmm.
you going to do with that? You know what I mean?
Right.
So that kind of made me think, well, it's not just about testing. It's about how does this person, figure out what they're going to do now. There's got to be a transition, between,
Right.
high school and then post-secondary education or vocational training, whichever one they choose. So I thought, what if I took myself out of the mainstream and created a niche of my own and figured out how I can work with these people one-on-one. And so I created a program for them to be able to work with me one-on-one. And it was really neat because I learned so much from it. It was more than just academics. It really was teaching the whole child, because they would come to me and they'd say, this and this is happening in my family, or I got in trouble with the law.
Right.
Here's a situation where, oh, how am I going to get a job now? And simple things that we could look up and find resources for to make such a difference. We had some that did an expungement, so then they could go on and find work and move on, and they learned from the experience. But it's a very scary thing when you're a kid and you're thinking, man, I'm just starting out and I already burned my bridge here. What can I do? So simple things like that really made me think, you know what, kids and adults need more of a one-on-one approach. So I started to do the life coaching thing, and I got my certification in life coaching, and that really kind of led to more of, okay, where can I go from here? And it made a difference for everybody, the community at large.
Do you feel that a lot of your clients are of Latino background?
They are. Yes, they're usually the majority of the people that I serve are Hispanic,
That's
and
just because where you're located. Is
I
that
think
correct?
it does have, yeah, I think it has a lot to do. We have a really huge population of Latinos here in San Antonio, and I do have a large Indian population, Middle Easterners,
Oh,
and they
okay.
are very adamant about give me what I need and tell me how to get there, and they just run with it. They do. They're so devoted to moving forward. And I think a lot of it has to do with their struggle, like their experiences. They
I
come
say
to
that all the time. Listen, I
Mhm,
just got off, another recording that I was doing and talked about this very same thing. So
mhm,
there is children out there who have lived more of a life than many adults.
mhm, mhm.
The challenges and obstacles that they were born into, things that they've suffered. It's
Mhm.
not that they're lazy. It's not that they don't want to. It's
Right.
that life has hit them so hard that they don't have the strength to come up, right? And to take that next step.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you're giving them a second chance. And I love
And
that.
yeah, me too. I love it because I have had some that were waiting tables, right, at restaurants and washing dishes and things of that sort. And they got into programs that are available here locally where they even pay for the tuition and they pay you to sit in the class. It's like 16 bucks an hour that they get,
Wow.
which is awesome because then they're not dealing with, okay, I'm here and I'm not making money. So, and the classes weren't every day. It was like Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And they were short-term courses and things like that, like phlebotomy or medical assisting and things of that sort. And now they're working in doctors' offices, they're working in hospitals, and they love it. They feel empowered, and it even helped the relationships with their husbands or their boyfriends that they live with and things of that sort. And I remember I got real close with this one couple, and I remember the guy saying, I kind of thought she was cheating on me because all of a sudden she's all happy all the time, and, doing this and that.
Oh, of course. It's
And
all
I
about the man. It
I
can't
said,
be that you're
no.
in love with somebody else. It's because you're in love with yourself. How
Exactly.
about
And that's what I
that?
told her that she's happy with herself. She feels empowered. She feels at
Wow.
peace. She finally found that balance. I said, that's what you're saying. And he laughed and he says, I realize that now. He says, but at first I was like, I don't know about this. And you laugh
Wow.
but the dynamics change, right? And then people
Dynamic is
see
going to change. When you love yourself, when you value yourself, you
Mhm.
truly are going to exude that, right? And the
Exactly.
choices that you make are going to be different. When you change your perspective in your life, your choices are now colored by that perspective. So
Mhm.
that is the key to life as far as I'm concerned, are those two things, perspective and choice, and how you
Exactly.
make those choices, and you can truly change your life. I 100% love what you do. I get emotional every time we talk about it. I get very emotional because I have a nephew who passed away recently, who I know that was one of his struggles. I know the difference that would have made for him to be able to finish,
Mhm.
get a diploma and move forward because of all the hard knocks that he had his whole life. I
Mhm.
know because I worked with him to try to find a program that he could complete and finish. Now, what's the average time span? What's the minimum to invest and dedicate into your program that they can come out with this diploma? Share that.
It's self-paced, so I give them the curriculum, and I just now switched to virtual. Before it was all paper pencil, and I would give them the packet, and I would say it's yours to take. I'm not rushing you. Whatever time it takes you to finish it, let me know when you're done, and we will grade it. I'll grade it right then and there. We'll make an appointment. I'll grade it right then and there. You just have to have a 70 or better in each of the subject areas, and I would have people pick it up on a Friday and bring it back to me on a Monday because they were
Wow.
just ready to be done. They wanted to move on. And that was that one piece, like you were saying, Marilyn, that can keep you from the job that you want or to get the training that you need. Because so many of these career schools and junior colleges and stuff, if you don't have a high school diploma, they can't accept you into those programs to train you to do certain things. And
Right.
I had one lady, she's a her and her husband are pastors of a church, and they really just touched me so much. They do a lot for people, and they just moved into a new building, and I got to know her really well. And she was doing a lot of work with the eyes, right? Working with like eye surgery and things of that sort. And she started really young. She was with this one doctor, and he retired, and she got her severance pay, and then she moved on. But she picked up so much hands-on, right? And there was a accrediting agency called Jacopo, which would take care of like all the certifications and things of that sort. So in order to be certified through Jacopo, you didn't have to have your high school diploma. So now things have changed, right? And now she says, I've been doing this for over 20 something years. I know what I'm doing, and I want that piece of paper. So she completed the program, and now she's at Incarnate Word, and she's doing the program for the optometrist, program. And she says, right now I want to do the vision studies and then get into that Rosenberg School of Optometry, which is a specialized, school just for that. And they have a lot of outreach that they do where they, go out and get eyeglasses for people who can't afford it, or they do the testing and all of that. And she says, I am so happy that I'm finally, working towards that degree, where before, she got complacent. She thought, well, I like what I do and I'm making an impact. But she says, I need more. I want more. And she finally had reached that point where, okay, it's time to move forward. And all she had to do was just put that first foot in front of the other, and she got there. And so I remember she posted a couple of things where it was this, a clock tower they have in the middle of the campus. And she says, I'm a cardinal, I'm in. And I thought, how neat, because really we don't realize how many people are watching what you're doing. Right. And they think, well, you know what? She comes from the same background I have. She has the same experiences. We're about the same age. Those kinds of things work in people's minds, and they're thinking, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And that's kind of how I felt with Daniel. He's from the south side of San Antonio, and one from the west side. Both areas are the same demographics, the same kind of, income levels and things of that sort. And I thought, just from watching him and seeing how much he's grown, I thought, well, it gives me inspiration to want to do more. And it makes it, you think it's doable. If he could do it, then, other people can too. And if you have those same characteristics or the same background, you're thinking, well, it's possible for me as well, And so that's what we don't realize is when other people see people move up, they're like, well, you know what? I can do it too. So you're inspiring.
Absolutely. Inspiring. So one of the things that I'm going to do for those of you that are hearing, and I know there's somebody out there that's going to hear this message, and I'm talking to you, I have made the decision to sponsor someone who cannot afford the program, right? So there are people out there who want this, but cannot afford it, right? Sometimes they get assistance from their job or from something else. But if that's not you and you have nobody to help you, please reach out to Elizabeth. Elizabeth will then let me know, and I am going to sponsor this person in honor of my nephew, Miguel Soto. So it will be a scholarship in his name, so we can help somebody like him, because I know that this would have been a huge piece for him. And I want to be able to do that for someone else. I didn't get the opportunity to do that for him. I lost him, unfortunately, before we could get that done, before I even met Elizabeth. Had I met her sooner, we would have had this done. And I say that, but that doesn't mean that I can't help somebody else. So if this is speaking to you, please reach out to Elizabeth. I'm here to help you. She's here to help you. And we want to see you succeed. Daniel Gomez, you have gotten a lot of shout outs today.
I know, right?
I'm going to think that maybe, Danielle, you should also sponsor someone.
Yeah,
I'm calling you out, Daniel Gomez.
Yeah,
you're a remarkable man. I just met him for the first time at my book launch. And I was inspired by Daniel as well. He's a truly a God-centered individual and his family. So I'm going to give him a shout out as well. And let's help some people in the area of Texas. Let's help. And you said you can also do this online, so you don't have to be in Texas.
Exactly.
Program.
Yeah, definitely. As long as the state is a homeschool friendly state, which most are, we can definitely help them. And that's a huge life-changing thing you're doing, Marilyn, for other people, because I think, it's just a matter of resources. And sometimes it's finding the right resources to be able to move forward. And a lot of times it's money, and money's tied.
Let's remove those obstacles.
Exactly. So I even thought, I was just thinking too, maybe of doing a nonprofit, so that way it was a way for people to receive funds and be able to use those funds to bless someone else's, like the way you're doing. So that's something that I'm thinking about. I ordered a book, matter of fact, just recently, so that I could read more about it and figure it out, how to maneuver through how to start a nonprofit and how to run it.
Yeah,
So,
listen, we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out
yeah,
together. I just started my own nonprofit. So absolutely.
that's
There's
awesome.
so many people. God blesses you so that you can bless others. If you have
Absolutely.
the opportunity to do that, then
Absolutely.
absolutely. Elizabeth, you are also a publisher. You can help people write books, right?
Absolutely.
In
Mhm.
addition to what you're doing, you have the book Hope Drives that's coming out. Anybody out there that wants to be a part of it, I'm going to be a part of it. I would love to have you join that that whole project. It's going to be
Absolutely.
fantastic and wonderful. We were talking about, having the book launch in San Antonio. So
Mhm.
looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
Now, this is the question that I ask all the guests on my show, and I would like to hear your definition of success.
I think it's really living in your purpose, like really finding out, why did God create me? What am I doing here on earth? Finding that purpose and living it out. If you can do that, then you've reached success as far as I'm concerned. And it's not about the money necessarily, it's more about living the purpose.
Right.
So I would define it that way.
Living your purpose. Amen. I agree. Thank you so much for being on the show today. We're about to bless many, many people out there with the book that you have coming out, with all the services that you offer. Thank you for being my friend.
Thank you. I love you so much.
And for all my viewers, I will see you next time.
Hi, everybody. My name is Gabrielle Morales, and I am a recruitment coordinator for Be The Match. My journey with Be The Match actually began when I was only 9 years old. At that point, my 7-month-old baby sister was diagnosed with an extremely rare form of leukemia. Through the Be The Match registry, we were able to find a matching donor for my sister. And although a few months later, we lost her, her cancer was cured. Our family is so thankful for the additional months that we had with my sister. And ever since then, I've made a promise to myself to dedicate my life to helping children just like Isabella and helping families like ours by continuing her legacy. Hence why I now work for Be The Match. I love what I do so much, and I'm able to spread awareness about the huge need for more donors on the registry, especially those of diverse backgrounds. There is currently a huge disparity within the registry for minority patients, and we need your help. It is so simple to save a life and to be put on the registry. You can visit izzy'slegacy.com or text Izzy's Legacy to the number 61474 to start the registration process to be on the Be The Match registry, to hopefully be a life-saving match for a searching patient in need.